Welcome back to the Sunny Stampin' Studio. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this Valentine's card. Why don't we get started? First thing you're going to need is this tag. I cut it out of the Stampin' Up! Big's 2 tags die using my Big Shot. First thing I'm going to do is to grab some Regal Rose Classic ink and a wedge of stamping sponge. I'm going to dab my sponge into my ink, holding onto my tag with my left hand, and I'm just going to drag my sponge along the edge of my tag like so. And you just want to make sure you go all around the outer edge of your tag. Next thing you're going to do is to grab a piece of 8-inch Pretty in Pink taffeta ribbon. So as you can see, I'm going to create 2 loops, and then I'm going to fold one loop inwards, pull it through the other one to create my bow. Now you just may have to play with your bow a little bit, just loosening and tightening until you get your bow looking as desired. So, there. Once you're happy with your bow, you can go ahead and grab some mini glue dots, and then you just want to pick up one mini glue dot with your bow, like so, and then you can go ahead and stick that near the top of your tag. And then I'm going to grab my ribbon scissors. These are Stampin' Up's craft and paper scissors, and I use them exclusively for ribbon because I just find I get a much cleaner cut that way. And then you're just going to trim your bow. There we go. I've now got 3 buttons that I've already gone ahead and threaded with a sliver of cardstock. And what I did was I just cut a very fine sliver of cardstock, threaded it through the top, and then I stuck it to the back of my button using mini glue dots. So I'm now going to go ahead and attach these to the bottom of my tag using my mini glue dots. So you just pick up one mini glue dot on the back of each button, and then you stick that right onto your tag. So you can now set your tag aside for a moment. We'll be using that a little bit later. And you can grab your card base. This is Pretty in Pink cardstock. As you can see, I've already gone ahead and sponged the edges with my Regal Rose Classic ink. I'm going to need some designer paper. This is from, now I can't remember the name of the designer paper set. It's from the new Occasions Mini Catalogue. You can see it's a double-sided designer paper. And I've cut this piece to 4 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches high. Now I've also got a strip of Regal Rose cardstock, which started out as a 2 by 4 inch strip, and I scalloped it using our brand new scallop, I think it's called the scallop trim punch. It's a punch that's in our Celebration catalog, and you can earn this for free for every 65 Canadian order you place. So I've already gone ahead and I've scalloped the edge. So what I now want to do is to attach this to the back of my designer paper. So I'm just going to put some snail adhesive on there. I'm going to grab my paper, make sure I have my 4-inch side. I'm going to align the edge of my scallop with one of my lines in my grid paper, and then use that as a guide to stick down my designer paper. So I want a 1/4 inch border. Once you've done that, you can now go ahead and stick this piece to your card front. And I'm centering it along the bottom edge of my card. So I want an even border around the bottom and the left and right edge, like so. So the next thing I'm going to need is my greeting. Now I'm using the Love You from the Short and Sweet stamp set, and I've already got it set up on my imaging sheet from my Stampin'-A-Jig. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that on there. And I'm stamping it in basic black classic ink like so. I'm now going to go ahead and I'm going to take this tag and I'm going to put a little bit of snail on the back, and I'm going to stick that onto my card front on an angle. So the next thing I need to do is my hearts. So to do that, I'm going to grab a scrap of Whisper White cardstock. I'm going to grab this heart stamp, and that is from the Happy Heart Stamp set. And I'm going to ink this up in Regal Rose Classic ink. Now because this is a solid image stamp, I just want to make sure that I ink it up really well. And so you can see I've stamped it onto my cardstock. So the next thing I want to do is to take my Versamark pad. And I'm just going to pat my Versamark pad all over my heart. And I'm going to grab some iridescent ice embossing powder, which I have in a dish. And I just want to sprinkle that all over my heart. And then you just go ahead and tap off the excess. Now the next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to heat it with your heat tool. So I'm just using Stampin' Up's heat tool, and you want to hold it a couple of inches away, and you just want to keep it in one area until it starts to melt. And then once your powder starts to melt, you're going to slowly move it across your surface. Now I already went ahead and did this to save time and also cut my heart out. And I just wanted to show you the difference between what it's going to look like unembossed and embossed, because it's a very subtle difference. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in here. And hopefully you'll be able to see it in the camera. So when the iridescent ice embossing powder is on here, it's going to look just a little bit more opaque than once the powder melts. So you can see the color brightens up. So that's what you're going to need to look for as you're melting your iridescent ice embossing powder. So once you have your heart embossed and cut out, just make sure as you cut it, you leave a small border of white around. You can now go ahead and take your card, and I'm going to take a Stampin' Dimensional and just stick it to the center back of my heart, and then I want to go ahead and stick that to my card. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to grab some Pretty in Pink cardstock, and I have already gone ahead and embossed this with the Textured Impressions polka dot folder, and this is a product that's also in the Occasions Mini Catalogue. So I want to use my heart to heart punch to punch out one of these tall hearts, and then I'm just going to grab my sponge and my Regal Rose Classic ink, and I just want to lightly sponge the edges. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place 2 dimensionals on the back of this. I'm going to layer them one on top of the other because I had 1 dimensional for my bigger heart. So this one, I want it to be popped out just a little bit higher than the other ones. As you can see, I have 2 dimensionals, one on top of the other. And then you can now go ahead and position that on. And there you have it. Your card is done. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I look forward to stamping with you again.